a second. So yes, welcome to our meeting. Sorry about the cancellation of the last one. We're having our speakers kind of lined up, and now we kind of have them set out for quite a few weeks from now. So that gives us a bit of breathing room and kind of rigidity in the scheduling. So really excited to have that going forward. So I would just like to start with introducing some of our new members. I know we have Matt Stevens. Matt, if you wanted to give a quick say on who you are and what you do.
Hi, everyone. I'm Matt. I was a hobby fruit grower for the last couple of years, and 2 weeks from today, I officially become the owner of a 70-acre apple orchard down near Simcoe, just outside Victoria. Spent a couple decades focused on electric vehicles, now full-time fruit grower slash robotics developer. So we're really focused on orchard robotics. So pleasure to be here. We're right at the start of the robotics journey. I got a million things to learn. So really pleasure to be here. Thank you for the chance to partake.
Perfect. And I also saw Carl, and I'm going to butcher your last name. I apologize. Havibeck?
Yeah, it's very phonetic, so say it like you see it. So yes, Havoc spec. Yeah, thanks everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. I see some familiar faces of from people I've crossed paths with already. I'm based out of Winnipeg, Manitoba. I am a technical sales representative for PAMI, the Prairie Agricultural Machinery Institute. And PAMI is a trusted third-party collaborator. We work with people in the industry of ag mining and transportation for research, designing, building, testing machines, components, and processes. So pretty much what I found in my role here since April, starting with PAMI, is that a quick conversation can vet out very, very quickly how much we can or cannot help you in the challenges you're facing.
Fantastic. And Chelsea Gray from FCC is also on the call. Just want to give a quick introduction to who you are.
Hi, yeah, I'm Chelsea Gray. I work with Farm Credit Canada. I am currently a special project manager, so I manage all of our strategic partnerships with smart farms in Canada that we partner with. So we sponsor 4 smart farms in Canada, and I manage those partnerships and relationships, and then work with internal stakeholders as well. And I'm based out of Regina. Thanks for having me.
And I know we had another one, but I don't see it in the call. Is there anyone else I missed? Any other new members?
Yeah, Bob.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Bob, sorry. You are here, Bob.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, so my name's Bob Benner. I own a company in Niagara Falls called Hamel Agricultural Processing Solutions, and we're a manufacturer of equipment mainly for the vertical growers, greenhouses, stuff like that. But our main forte is harvesters for microgreens, leafy lettuces, of that nature. But we also build commercial washers for trays and bins. And we've also been tasked with, because the industry is fairly new, there's just new equipment that we need to build all the time, tray flippers, material removers, stuff like that. And currently we're working with a company in Calgary, or Red Deer, I guess, which is a little different than what we're used to, but it has to do with carbon, which is pretty exciting for us. So there's lots of things that we can do in this industry that we're pretty excited about. Same thing about robotics. We are getting into robotics as well. We have an electrical engineer that does all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a very exciting time to be in this industry.
Fantastic. That's all the new members I have on my list. So I think and I know Joe Dales wanted to give a quick little update as well before we went to the presentation.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. Just chatting with Chuck yesterday, so he thought I should give a quick update on what was going on in Ottawa this week with Ag Day in Canada. So I see Garson on here. Kane did a really nice job on Monday night. Had a great reception and great speaker panel. There's Garson. So want to thank Kane for doing that. they actually brought in a speaker, and he was the Undersecretary of Agriculture under Sonny Perdue, who was Secretary of Agriculture under Donald Trump a few years ago. So it was pretty interesting, interesting discussion on food and technology and innovation. He's very excited about innovation, research, robotics being a part of that piece. So a lot of the discussion was about innovation and how excited a senior bureaucrat like that is over the technology and the opportunity. So I thought that was pretty interesting. It's on the Americans' radar. So there's going to be a lot of investment flowing into things like robotics and software and so on. The Tuesday was Ag Day in Canada. 750 people showed up. Everyone from bureaucrats, politicians, Senator Black was there. And a couple of themes that struck me were the whole discussion on sustainability, trying to decarbonize, trying to be more sustainable, whatever that word is. And then the theme was how we're going to do that is through research and innovation. And so all the speakers, had that theme. The speakers were people like Michael McCain from Maple Leaf. The CEO of McDonald's was there. They had some farmers, a pretty good high-end group. And so that was a tremendous day. And I think innovation is really a theme that people know we're going to have to do a lot of research and a lot of testing. So it sets up well for stuff like the innovation farm that we're working on with FCC and OMAFRA. And then the third day was the Canadian Food Innovation Network. Real-time robotics out of Waterloo presented. They had a little robot doing its thing in the room. It was kind of a last mile delivery bot. That was kind of neat. But the keynote speaker was Rebecca Clark, who is the VP and Treasurer for Farm Credit Canada. And Rebecca is in charge of helping stimulate the venture capital pool in Canada. And so she's done a good job of trying to get more venture capital flowing into Canada. Canada, she showed some market research that it's really underserved by the investment community. So the ag tech sector is much smaller than it should be relative to the size of agriculture in Canada. So Rebecca did a really nice job on that. And I think policy governments do recognize that companies that are doing innovation are going to have to find funding somewhere. So not sure if there's any programs or what's coming down the pipe, but at least government knows innovation is important. There's a lack of venture capital out there, and hopefully they can find ways of addressing that. So it was a great week in Ottawa, and coming back feeling fairly positive that, groups like this on the robotic side are going to be supported where possible. Not that we can't hold our breath and wait for it, but hopefully there'll be some help coming down the road. So that's kind of my report, and yeah, good luck to everybody.
Thank you, Joe. Now we'll go to our presentation, which is Sougata Pahari, and he is the CEO of Korechi, I might be mispronouncing that, Innovations Inc. as well. And he's going to give us an update on the picker robots that are currently in Florida.
Hi, everyone. Let me just share my screen here. You see my screen, right? Okay, so yeah, we call Korechi Innovations Inc. You pronounce it right, Aaron. It literally means death due to overwork in Japanese, but that's not what it was named after. It's a Bengali word where I hail from in India. It means I or we have done it. It's like Eureka. and it takes a while to switch. Okay, so that's us. We were incorporated. I moved to Canada in 2016, started the company the same year. And we were incubated at the Forge and Innovation Factory in Hamilton. And then we moved to Oshawa in 2018. And we've also been incubated at the Spark Center, Oshawa, since then. We started off building robots for line marking applications. But then in 2017, we found a bigger market, which was agriculture. That's where we pivoted. And then, we just used the same platform, made it a little bit bigger, and started working more on the software. And then we made our first sale to Niagara College, and we called it, that model was called Romeo Mini, though to Niagara College it was sold as Romeo Jumbo. And then in 2020, we sold our first construction robot, the Seeker construction robot that you see in the picture here. It was well timed because early pandemic, construction sites needed somebody to review what's going on, monitor the progress, and so on. And insurance companies, which typically take care of that, were not able to send their staff. The robot did its thing. It would autonomously navigate in an indoor environment, take pictures, 360-degree pictures, and give you a virtual map where anybody in the world could see the progress day to day. It would do this every night. So you have a daily progress report. And then Haggerty Creek commissioned us to build the Romeo 8CT, our largest tracked robot. And that was delivered in 2021. We started working on that in 2020 itself. And then we had the Zolly hydroponics bed cleaning robot. Hydroponics and aquaponics, there's a slight difference in how the robot operates. That was back in 2021 as well. And then 2022, we were commissioned by Wilsey Ag to make the Electra weeder. They have a Hydra weeder, which they use the hydraulic line from a tractor to do manual weeding. We just electrified that system. And then in 2022, we delivered the Romeo 8CW, which was again commissioned by Haggerty Creek. And then we completed early last year, the Romeo ZTV, the vineyard weeding and mowing robot. And then in 2021 itself, we started venturing into the golf industry because we saw a niche there where, it was that I'll discuss that and why we made the switch to ag, from ag to golf. We haven't given up on ag, but we just see a lot faster growth in the golf industry right now. So these are the robots I've been talking about. Romeo MLT is the software, multi-use software that that controls multiple robots at the same time. It controls all these robots. The first demonstration of any of these robots was actually of the Mini, and it was given to Soil Optics back in 2017. And the software suite was completed as early as 2020, but we kept making improvements and continuous upgrades. One of the downfalls of our of this line of robot was we made too many customizations, so it was almost impossible to go into mass production. And so that brings us to our pivot back in 2020, while we were actually still in Hamilton. There was the Shadow Golf Course in Hamilton, and we would go there and walk around, and then we noticed that these are large open fields, essentially growing grass, not the traditional form of agriculture, if you will. But we saw an opportunity there because you needed to do an application every 2 days a week or so. And then we thought mowing was going to be the #1 application, but then we were soon told by some of the golf courses that we went to that we're going to trust bigger companies like John Deere and Kubota and Toro. So why don't you do this? My kid hasn't come to pick up to drive this tractor and pick up golf balls. So what this does is, on a driving range where people just hit balls and there's a lot of balls falling on the ground, somebody needs to pick them up and bring them back. And this contraption does that. Call this the implement, if you will. These discs pick up the balls and deposit them in these baskets, and somebody manually empties the baskets. At the moment, they use this caged cart to push this picker. So what we did is we went ahead and made a robot that does that. And what was innovative about our robot is, first of all, it's fully automated automated to a great extent the picking portion. And we made a unique adapter that worked with every single ball picker in the market. Still works. Now, with this, what we did is there was a different kind of a challenge. Most implements in agriculture are pull type. Pushing has a whole different dynamics. The physics changed quite a bit. So there was a learning curve there. It wasn't as easy to switch as we thought. Another thing, we had never cared about how well our farming robots looked. We just needed them to be rugged. But when it comes to golf, you not only have to make them look good, you also have to protect, because this is essentially a shooting gallery. Some of these balls, when hit the right way, carry the same amount of force as a bullet. And so we had to bulletproof essentially our entire, the GPS antennas, the wireless antennas, and so on, the cameras. And so in 2020, when was it? 2022, we first launched this product, and the numbers were pretty staggering because it cost less than $1 a day in electricity cost, as opposed to say $20 a day in gas power cost. And because these vehicles only move at no faster than 8 kilometers an hour, that's one of the worst ways to use an internal combustion engine that was intended to move a vehicle at 40 kilometers an hour or so. So they're highly polluting. And since our deployment, we have the robots have autonomously driven over 12,000 miles and over 2,800 hours. And this is for 12 units plus one prototype unit that we keep renting out whenever somebody has an emergency and needs a robot, and they don't have somebody coming in. So that amounts to almost 1,000 miles per robot for the season, which is a lot more than most of the farming robots that we had ever experienced driving. And as an added challenge, the price, we could not charge the same price for these robots as we did for farming robots. Like we could sell the Romeo 8CT, HCW, or ZTV for over $100,000, but these robots have to be within the $50,000 mark. The biggest problem we came across when operating these robots were actually the ball picker itself, because we didn't design it. And so we had challenges of our own, because the ball picker was, always rusted. Even though the facility said that it's in good working order, you don't feel that it's not, the maintenance issues when you're pushing it with a 3,000-pound tractor. But when you're doing it with a 800-pound robot, an autonomous robot, which is fine-tuned for that specific task, then there are additional challenges. And so in just this year, we launched the Picker 1500. This is the first time we made our own ball picker, and we made it to the best of the industry standards. This is also the highest capacity golf picking robot in the market, and it is able to do things that none of the other robots in the market are able to do. The 1500 name comes from the fact that it can catch up to 1500 balls per picking cycle. As a reference, the highest any of the competitors can do is 600 balls. And this is our smaller ball picking robot. The other one that the Alpha can do up to 4,000 balls, and the new one we're building can do 4,500 balls. And as you saw, when it comes to the navigation, this is able to turn on a dime, go in reverse, which none of the robots in the world can do. This particular model is good for about 60% of the driving ranges in North America. When I say that, what I mean is 60% of the driving ranges in North America are large enough that a robot covering 2.5 acres an hour can fully automate their golf ball picking needs. For the remaining 40%, about 20% of them would be fulfilled by two of these robots because they're bigger in capacity. Like this particular facility is in Florida, and over here we are looking at this particular deployment needed. If we wanted to automate this entire thing, we'll need about 4 of these robots, because this is about 26 acres in size. One of the biggest driving ranges in all of North America. It's circular in size. So as giving an example of use cases. Unlike farming robots, we had to also completely change our approach, how we navigate the robots. So we started breaking down each of these fields into zones. This is at the RBC Canadian Open last year. It's a fairway that was converted into a driving range for the people to practice on. And so we created a home position here. And for each of this zone, the operator would be able to literally select which zone I want to go and pick, or schedule which zone I want to pick at what time. And they can do it for, on a weekly basis. They can just schedule it and leave it for the whole week. And it repeats, the same week repeats. And the robot has been pre-planned. The path has been pre-planned for this. And what it does is comes back to the home position and then it starts off. So that's where you see this kind of a network. Similarly, for a top golf kind of location, we had to give an additional functionality. When the robot senses the baskets are full, there's only a single path, but when the robot senses the baskets are full, it comes back to the home position, waits for somebody to empty it, then goes back right to that spot where it left off, and then continue navigation. Now, this is a more dangerous facility to operate in, because these circles are actually holes in the ground. And so you can fall over. So we needed to be even more precise before any deployment in these conditions take place. Why we need automation is this. The moment the kid, starts going over 8 kilometers an hour, this is what happens to the golf carts. The ball pickers, as you see, are not in very good condition, usually. And they have an accident. Liability insurance and all of this considered, it's a lot easier to automate that, because we're running at no more than 7.5 kilometers an hour. So that's kind of our sweet spot. That also electrically makes a lot of sense. And we have enough battery for a continuous 12-hour of operation. In many of the facilities, they only charge every 2 days because they don't run continuously for 12 hours a day. Talking about the market opportunity of golf courses, there are over 19,000 golf facilities in USA and Canada alone. Together, they form 51% of the world market. So this is we are in the right side of the Atlantic that way. The competitors, there are two main competitors, and they both hail from Europe. So we have an advantage in North America, we have the names and addresses of every one of these facilities. We don't even have the names and addresses of the farms in my immediate vicinity. That's one of the main advantages of targeting in the golf industry, we found. Pretty much all the robots we sold in the farming were because there was a grant backing it up that wasn't sustainable for us. That was another big reason why we switched switched our focus to the golf sector. When it comes to sales, we're already fortunate that these are some of the biggest names in the golf industry: Titleist, Ping, PGA of America, and Troon. Troon is the world's largest golf management company. They manage over 800 golf facilities, and they're a customer, where we're talking about mass deployments in most of these, if not all of these facilities. And some very high-end private clubs as well. In 2022, we started, to lower the barrier of entry. We started with a rental model where they would just rent the robot on a 2-year contract. And in 2023, late 2023, we switched it to a sale plus subscription model. 2 reasons. We found that when they rent the robots, they tend not to take too good of care of it. It's like, it's not mine. That kind of an attitude. That's unfortunately the truth. And so once the units that we have sold some of these units, and those ones have been well taken care of. They take ownership of how the robot is operating. They follow the procedures. It got so bad that we actually had to paste a 10-point procedure at the back of the robots, just so that they can, we can say that the robot, the instructions are right on the robot. All you have to do is read it and follow it. Staffing in the golf industry is very different, because you may have 3 shifts of people coming in throughout the day, and those people are not guaranteed to come next week. So no matter what kind of training we do, a lot of it is going to be forgotten. So 2 things we can do is, one is simplify it to as much of an extent as possible. And second is to literally put the instructions on the robot. and then make them short. We've also we have also been taking pre-orders for units on our website for the $750 US deposit, and that has already exceeded 48 units. And now we are converting them to 40% down and sale for spring this year itself. We have letters of intent for 850 plus units at this time, and an additional 1,500 facilities and inbound sales. We have over 18,000 outbound facilities in the pipeline as well. Some of the most aggressive parties who are interested in the product are actually from Europe. The grounds there are prime because prime for automation. Similar in attitude to what we have seen with farming robotics. They were a lot more active in Europe than we found them in North America. There is an uptake, but North American farms tend to be more rugged, in my opinion. And so the robots have to live up to those kind of expectations as well. The same goes for the golf robots as well. The robots that are coming from Europe have very little uptake in North America, simply because most driving ranges in North America are very rough. They are literally the worst piece of land on the property. And so not all robots can drive in them. And because we come from the farming robotics background, we were, first of all, they're the largest and heaviest and most powerful robots in the industry. And so we were able to accommodate this kind of a terrain. And that's my presentation. Happy to answer any questions if you have.
I'm going to say, congratulations, Sougata. It's been a real journey for your company, and it's been fun to kind of watch it develop over the last few years.
Thank you, Chair.
I concur. Congratulations.
Thank you, Kristen. Any questions?
It's awesome. It's excellent. Nobody has a question?
I can give you some background on how we are still in how this has helped us with the AgRobotics side of things. Our current facility, we are able to produce 20 units a month. Last week of this month, we're moving to a bigger facility where we'll be able to double our production. And so this year alone, we expect to ship over 150 units. We'll try to cross that. Our bigger, one of our bigger challenges is the weather, and finding the people to assemble these robots, not the demand. That's been an advantage. But when it comes to helping the ag side of our business, we now know how to reduce the cost of our robots. So if the $100,000 robot now can be sold for 60,000, that's the kind of difference we're looking at. We also have purchasing power parity this way. What we are able to do is buy these components in bulk. Now we're not making one unit at a time, right? And many of the components are shared between our farming and the golf robots. We're also able to streamline the software. Like the golf robot, we actually had to remove a lot of functionality from the farming robots to make it useful. Farmers do farming in so many different ways. Golf people do picking in maybe two ways. Either they schedule it or they just ask it to go to a region and pick. So we had to remove functionality. And so that's where we found a good niche. We're not giving up on the ag side. We're just waiting for this market to the golf side of the business to mature. And the reason why we chose agriculture before golf in the first place, we knew that golf was also an option back then, was because of the depth of market. Agriculture is an essential industry. During the early stages of pandemic, golf was stopped, but agriculture kept going, and nobody needed robots more than, that's when you needed the robots the most. Unfortunately, we weren't ready back then. But with these new progresses, with these new capabilities, we think we can come back stronger in the ag side with a very niche application first, and then take it from there.
Dan Oliver also had a quick comment. He said, "Congratulations, an amazing vision. Can I buy shares?"
Thanks, Dan. We can definitely talk about it. We just closed our seed round right now, so we're primed for production. But we will be opening up another round maybe later this year.
I see Chuck has a question as well.
Well, I think what I wanted to comment on is Sougata's touched on a few of the challenges within the agricultural robotics space. That one of them is a willingness to standardize a production system, you know, and the independence of farmers, who every farmer down the side road thinks that their way is the right way, is a real barrier to any kind of automation. And what it turns into is expensive robots that just aren't practical to manufacture. And you know, Sougata kind of talked about that as well. And you know, as the robotic space develops over time, you know, what I saw last week in Europe, there was 8 bankruptcies in the startup robotic space in the last 6 months. And what that does is that turns into a consolidation and maybe some standardization on how these things are being built. But also, as the companies that are left, they can start to enter the manufacturing phase, which reduces cost, which, you know, all of these kinds of things. My final point is that until we start using the robots in specific use cases, so like when Sougata has his picker robot going on a driving range, like how specific is that, right? Like it's a single implement, a single robot doing a single task. And that's how you make it cheaper, and that's how you make it work. And you know, and I think there's a real desire amongst farmers to have a robot that does everything. I want to buy one robot, and I want that one robot to do everything for me. And that's a mindset that we have to work on. And so I think, you know, indirectly through his presentation, he's touched on, you know, several of these subjects that as a group, you know, as we go out and we kind of, you know, go forth to the world and spread the message, these are some of the messages that need to be carried forward.
I saw David Hobson had his hand up.
Yeah, great comments there, Chuck. And I would, I agree. So great presentation. Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is an investable opportunity, no doubt about it. I would emphasize the point which Chuck is making is that, you know, manufacturing costs and production is key in the long run in this, as well as life cycle operating costs. You know, how long do these things last? What is the intervention? Is it annual maintenance, monthly maintenance? Batteries last 1 year, 2 years, 10 years. Without divulging any confidential information, can you please elaborate a little bit on, you know, what are the critical steps in manufacturing that are, you know, really the big hurdle? Because we're all going to face this problem. You know, it's, you know, you know, so in terms of, you know, what are the hard things to get your costs down in manufacturing? And can you talk a little bit about your life cycle? You know, what are you expecting, or what's your expectation with your engineering in terms of these are going to last 10 years, it's going to cost so much to operate per year, you're going to have to replace batteries at this time, you know, these things last forever, they're going to replace them after 2 years. I don't know, but just can you share some of that? Because like Chuck said, we need this stuff to be cheap in agriculture, and you're leading the pack here.
Thank you, David. I can answer some of those questions. Yes, when it comes to the biggest hurdle of manufacturing is honestly the volumes. We can't go into robotic welding as an example. It sounds so standard when we look at automotive manufacturing, but those people are manufacturing our entire month's budget in probably by afternoon, in one day. So once you have hit those volumes, and we'll never hit those volumes because the number of driving ranges are already limited. When farming, agriculture, that's a different thing. There are at least 20-fold more farms in North America alone where you can make similar robots here. So the problems we have been facing are literally when it comes to welding. As a simple example, the first few pieces we welded, they kept warping. And then we had to standardize that jig and make it, you know, so that you can push those components out. And there is a staffing shortage in literally every field in in every single industry over here. It's hard to get good welders too. And you hire somebody and they've got a better paying job somewhere else, and they've jumped off to a different company, and so we do keep losing talent. And we don't do manufacturing in-house. We get at least the welding and all of those, power welding, powder coating, stainless steel, bending and cutting. We get that done with a third party, and then we do the final assembly in our plant, which makes sense. So that also reduces our profit margin, but it also reduces our risk to some extent. So we're just trying to hit that, fine tune that. Another thing we had to do is the same robot, the picker, we made 3 stages of changes, and we had to change the way the robot is designed just so that we can manufacture it in the North American context. If I was doing this in India, for example, where labor is a lot more readily available, a lot more, a lot more affordable as well, I would have gone with a slightly different design, which would have made it even more robust, which would have given me more flexibility. There are design constraints placed on us simply so that we can manufacture it in a certain way. That would be, the biggest problem that we have at this time. During the pandemic, we also had a huge problem with lead time. Some of the lead times were literally 48 weeks. I'm not kidding. And then we found out we are not actually doing so bad, because if you go to John Deere and order a golf cart right now, you're at least a year and a half away. And that's John Deere, who have huge bargaining potential in the market to get first dibs on components. And so that soothed our nerves a little bit. So yeah, this is how the industry is progressing. But what we saw with the golf side is we thought we would approach them with a clear ROI calculations. But that's not what they were after. They were like, I can't find the kid to pick up the golf balls. The money was no objective for them at that point. They're like, I would have paid twice as much. Some of them, not all of them, said that. There are others who also argue why it's too expensive. But some of them are like, money is no objective because I lose business if I don't get the golf balls in. And I lose customers who have been coming to my range regularly for the past decade. Now, because of the pandemic and because of a labor shortage, they're jumping ship and changing allegiance to a different facility, which does have a robot. So there are too many dynamics playing into this, which affects our decision making.
Life cycle, operating costs?
Oh yeah, operating cost is less than $1 a day. These 1,000 miles, we had to do zero maintenance on them. The gearbox are sealed. We never have to change the oil. They don't go really fast. It's like slow moving gearbox, so it's self lubricated. We expect a very usable lifespan of 7 years for these. The batteries themselves last 10 years, even if you use every single day of the year. And even after that, you'll still have 80% of the capacity left. We also use only lithium phosphate battery packs. We've been doing that, starting with the Romeo 8CT. Actually, even before that, with the Seeker, we started using lithium ion phosphate battery packs, which is very safe. We did have an accident once where the battery pack flipped and we didn't secure it properly, and all we got was a little bit of smoke, but no fire. So indirectly, we have tested it for safety.
Kristen had her hand up as well.
Hi, Sougata. So a couple of questions, or just maybe one comment and a question. They are predicting that there are going to be significant supply chain issues again this year with all of the turmoil in the world. So how are you going to manage that, and how are you going to forward look or forward buy so that you can stay on track? Number one. Number two, I just wanted you to maybe comment about how you've been a member of our AgRobotics Working Group for the whole time, the whole 3 years. So I was just wondering if you could comment on the group and how the connections here maybe helped your company or in some way, or just some comments about our working group and your participation. That'd be great. Thanks.
Sure. So going to the first question regarding the supply chain issues, though it's not ideal, we actually have, for every component now, we have more than one supplier, more than one manufacturer rather. And that does that does pose a challenge when you standardize your components, because, for example, if you get a motor controller from two different manufacturers, then you have to make changes to your code. And being a small company, we're able to be really quick on our feet. That's one of our biggest advantages. We can switch the product within a week if we need to. And every other component there, it's been pretty standardized. For example, the camera is very standardized. You know what pixels you're getting at, you know what kind of an angle of aperture there is. The format the data is coming in, that's pretty standardized. LiDAR, similarly, we just spent a large part in order to reduce the cost. We actually, for every component, we tested multiple suppliers, multiple manufacturers rather. And so we would be able to ride out that storm, in my opinion, right now. We used to custom make our own battery packs, and then realize it's not worth our time. And then we started buying battery packs off the shelf. And then when it comes to integrating our software with the battery to tell you how much battery is left, how the battery itself is doing. Now we have made our systems completely battery agnostic. We can use any battery. We can switch to lead acid batteries if we need to. It will reduce the performance, increase the traction, but we can do that if we need to. And the key is communicating with the customer base, and we tell them in advance that, okay, we're facing this kind of an issue. Are you okay with getting a modified version of the picker with this functionality, or you can wait an approximate this many months to get the product that you thought you were getting. And most of them say, yeah, but as long as it does what I need it to do, it's fine. And we always give them the option for software upgrades. We give 1 year of manufacturer's warranty. For some bulk orders, we also bump it up to 2 years. And beyond that, they can purchase warranty. That includes essentially 2 preventative maintenances a year, where somebody visits the facility, looks at the robot, looks at all the lubricated joints, and there's a schedule, monthly, annual, a daily checklist, weekly, monthly, and annual checklist, which also makes it straightforward. Unlike the small scale mowing robots, as you see, which charge themselves and go out, there's a human component missing in them. Like the robots can't self-diagnose if there's a netting stuck in its wheel, for example. When our robots are parked, at the end of the day, they're parked in the golf barn, in a cart barn, or in a secure shed. Subconsciously, the operator who is using the remote control to drive the robot to and back, they're doing a visual check. And they're doing the annual checklist, the daily checklist, without actually knowing that they're doing it, and the tire pressure and all of that. So we had to dumb it down to a great extent. For example, these robots can also, the picker can also run completely flat. We have oversized the tires so they can also run flat. But the condition is both the tires need to be flat, otherwise it tends to move more in one direction, and the software keeps compensating for it. Lots of intricacies in the design over here. Yeah. Regarding the AgRobotics Working Group, I've probably missed 5 or 6 sessions so far, and I join in and just listen every single time. There's so many talented companies coming in and presenting. We just monitor this, listen more than you speak, that kind of an attitude. We just keep understanding and learning. Through this group, we also came to know about other people, other potential partners, of course, in the golf industry itself. We've also been made aware of what industry standards are, what the expectations are, what others are doing. Not everyone reveals their secrets as easily on social media as they do in this group. So we've had a good view, a window into the world that is not very easily accessible through this media. So I'm grateful that this group exists, and it's doing a great job.
And I'm just going to do one last question from Bob. Oh, you're on mute, Bob.
Yes, I forgot about that. Sorry. Yeah, just a comment, because we're a manufacturer. When you mentioned your welding warping, we do all our equipment for the ag industry is all stainless steel 304. But what we've invested in now is laser welding, and laser welding takes probably at least a third of the heat out, if not more. So your material doesn't warp hardly at all. Plus, with the laser welding, we don't have to use harsh chemicals anymore to clean our welds. It's actually built into the machine, which is amazing. And they're 3 times as efficient. So when you're hiring welders, which we have the same problem as everyone, good talent is hard to find. Now with the laser welder, we can actually train a welder probably 4 hours. They'd be able to weld efficiently. Another thing we do is we build barrel racks for the wine industry, and we've put a robot in to do all our welds. And we wanted to try the laser welder on the barrel racks because they have to stack 5 high, and there's a lot of weight on here. And we put our the feet of it in our press. We put 100 tons on it before it actually broke the weld. So it's really good equipment. Now, mind you, it's $45,000 versus, you know, $10,000 or $12,000 for a welding machine, but it's paying huge dividends. So, and the other thing for manufacturing we did has been a huge difference. We send all our flats material out to for laser cutting. We've got our own water jet in our shop, but we can't even compete with the laser welding. They can actually cut, supply and cut cheaper than we can actually buy the material for. So it's just another really good area to invest in. So that was all my comments.
Thank you. And so if I may just answer that, thank you very much. The laser welding, yes, we've been looking at that as well. Some of our thicknesses exceed 3/16 of an inch, where laser welder becomes a little bit less efficient, or you'll have to weld from both sides to make that work in many of the cases. And we've been using laser cutting for all our stainless steel and water jetting for the mild steel, anything, especially the higher thicknesses over 3/8 of an inch. But thank you. I appreciate that, Bob.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that presentation and for fielding all those questions. Appreciate that. We're going to move on to the next item, which is the conferences, meeting, field tours, and demonstrations. Ag Tech conference happened on the 6th of February. I think there's a couple people in this call that attended. Would anybody be willing to give a quick update on that?
Yes, of course. Just wait a minute. Yeah, everything went well. I think we were about 300 person. It was an in-person event and even online. So in person, we were about 200 people, and we had a AgTech zone. So there were about 20 companies showing their products. And we had a lot of conference and panels with growers and AgTech companies. Everybody said it was really good.
That's fantastic. We'll look forward to it next year.
Yes.
And then today is the British Columbian Organic Conference as well. And then looking forward, next week we have the Ontario Fruit and Vegetable Convention Growers, which Haggerty AgRobotics will be present with, and there will be a presence there for the working group as well. And then we have the next one, which would be the IFAO conference, which is the Future Future Ready Farm, which will be on the 21st and the 22nd, which is kind of overlapping with that show.
That's unfortunate.
Pardon?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And then the Grain Farmers of Ontario have an event as well on the exact same days as well. There's like three things happening all at the same time.
I think we need to make a commodity partners calendar so everyone can see where their events are and they don't overlap. And then we have also an organic summit on April 3rd to 5th, and that's in New York State as well. And coming up in July, so a bit out, we have the International Symposium on Robotics and Automation, and that'll be happening in Manhattan, Kansas, not New York. So that'll be coming up later on. Just some updates on our project on this end. We are hopefully going to have the website up for this working group by the end of this month. So a lot of these conversations will be posted on there, and any research that we do will hopefully be uploaded there. So it'll be accessible by you a bit. It'll be a lot nicer to access. That's what we're hoping. Funding opportunities just yesterday. The ATII was opened up. So for those that have projects, I do believe it's under $100,000, you can get 50% funding, and then over $100,000, I think it's around 35%. There is different streams on that. But yeah, it's a great way to bring innovation that might be adopted in other areas of the world or out of province and have that brought in here, cover some of those costs. Yes, Kristen?
Yeah, just a comment on that. So it is going to be a merit-based program. So you don't have to really rush and get your applications in. Applications are going to be accepted until I think the Friday before the Easter long weekend, so end of March. So you have time. It's not first come, first serve. I also asked the question on whether or not if there's an overwhelming amount of applications, if then there will be a decision to reduce the amount of the award to each of the projects. And this will be a process. It will just depend to see what happened, and they can't really comment on that right now. So we should just go with the criteria that's outlined. And just going back to the events, I am giving a presentation today at 2 o'clock, 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time about the AgRobotics Working Group and all of the different technology that's been trialed or is going to be trialed in perennial cropping systems to BC. So just so you're aware. So I'll give you some feedback next week on that.
Sounds good. Chuck?
Yeah, I was going to, so I'm giving a presentation, I think Kristen is as well, at the OFBC next week. And I'm giving a presentation as well at the Innovative Farmers. So I get to be at two places at once next week as well. So and then with the ATII funding, so like through our company, we have 12 people so far that are going to be, that we know are submitting for various robotics projects. And I think what we're telling people is that it's unfortunate that the funding is this late in the year, because by the time that it's approved, these are all going to be robotics projects for 2025. So we're telling people to not be discouraged. That the ATII is a multi-year funding project. It's not a do it this year and have it done in 2024. So just keep that in mind. And when we're building these projects, that's what we're building them around. So there's going to be probably 12 to 15 that we know of for certain. Yeah, all right, I'll stop.
No, that's fantastic. I think that covered most of our items. We're coming up with 5 minutes left. Did anyone have any other comments they wanted to speak on?
Just one other thing. I think Mary Ruth might still be on the call, but she is also giving a presentation at the Ontario Food Vegetable Convention next week with respect to new agri-tech, and she'll be speaking in the vegetable session. So that'll be, I think it's the first day at 3:30. So if you're there, it'll be a great presentation to see as well.
Yes, Lynn?
And Lynn, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, as one of the token Americans, I'm going to be in the grape session with Kristen. I'm going to be talking about our work looking at our vision guided sprayer for sucker removal, also presenting some of our data with weed control, and some of Thierry Bisasson, he's also here. It's data in blueberries on weed control using a weeded system, as well as our electrical weeding work in apples that we're hoping to transition into vineyards this year.
Fantastic.
Looking forward to seeing everybody next week.
Any other comments?
I had I had a phone conversation with Tavel yesterday, and just an update from the apple harvesting for those of you that are new, there are a couple of subcommittees of this working group. One of them is on bringing an apple harvester to Ontario. The other one is a data management subcommittee as well. So there are two smaller groups. With regards to Tavel and the apple harvester, they have agreed that they are going to bring the harvester to Ontario. So they're the first harvesting company that's willing to consider us as a market worthy of pursuing. So I think that's very nice to see. So the step 2 of that is firming up. We have a short list of growers that meet the criteria of what the harvester can do, because obviously it has to meet that criteria, but the growers also have to be willing to put some money towards the project as well. And then this is one of the, and then some of the, between pooling the various funding sources together. So this will be a 2-year project. We are working on bringing 2 of the harvesters to Ontario and sharing them between 4 growers. That's kind of what this project's going to look like, and more to come as this goes forward. More to come as this goes forward.
So Kerstead has their hand up.
Yeah, hi, it's just Kyle from AFC. Just a heads up, and I did connect with Chuck and Kristen and yourself about this, but we had a good meeting following that conference this week with Thrive by SVG Ventures. It's like a venture capital firm / sort of tech accelerator. We were talking with them about a number of things, and the working group came up, and they were quite interested in what you guys are doing here. They're based in Calgary at the moment. They originally are headquartered in Silicon Valley, but set up shop in Canada in 2021 and have been quite impressed with the ecosystem and opportunities here. So in any event, they might be seeking to do a presentation to the group, and when possible in the future. I don't know if you guys have had any follow-up conversations with John and Megan, but yeah, I think it's a good opportunity.
Just saw Ismail also raised her hand as well.
Yeah, I have a question. We knew that Tevel was working in Washington, so we wonder why they just left the Washington. I mean.
Pardon me? Sorry, when you say they left Washington?
Yes, I thought they had a QG there, so we wonder why the relationship didn't work there.
We're not certain. We're not certain. And I know that their one harvester is in Argentina, and so I guess we'll find out more as the year goes on.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, Kristen, before the conference next week, are there any prearranged social events? Ag group will get together.
Well, no, well, on the Wednesday night, it's always great. There's a Farmers and Friends reception that starts, I think, at 5 or 5:30 and goes for 2 hours. And then after that, there is a speaker dinner, which many people from this working group, I'm sure, will, because they're presenting, will be there. But if you go down early on the Tuesday evening, there is actually it's new this year for the conference. It's sort of a get-together reception for anybody who's. What's that? Kickoff party. Yeah, thanks, Erica. The kickoff party for the conference. And so if you're around, unfortunately, I won't be getting in until late that evening, so I'll miss that, but I'll see everybody the next day at the reception and whatnot. Yeah, so hopefully we see everybody there.
Yeah, the kickoff party starts at 8 o'clock and it's at the Wyndham, I believe. Yeah,
I think you're right. Yeah. I I had to call ahead to make sure they don't give away my rooms because they only hold them till midnight, I guess, or something. But yeah, I'm traveling down late, not leaving till about 6:30, so I'm not sure. We'll see.
So we are past our time now, so I guess I
okay.
will adjourn the meeting. And thank you all for joining us. Thank you again for our presenter.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
You too. Bye.
See ya. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Same, thank you.
Good job, Aaron.
Yeah, if
Thank
you want
you.
to stop you might as well stop the recording.
Go.